welcome to This Is Now. The death toll in Israel has now climbed to at least 900 after this weekend's violent attack by Hamas militants. And the White House now says that 11 Americans are among the fatalities.
Yeah, Israel ordered a complete siege of the Gaza Strip where civilians and soldiers are being held hostage. And Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says what happens next will reverberate for generations. Skylar Henry has more.
Israel says it has largely regained control of its border communities as it pounds the Gaza Strip with retaliatory strikes for Saturday's bloody attack. Israel's defense minister says no food, water, or fuel will be allowed into Gaza, where Hamas is holding dozens of hostages, by some estimates more than 100, and is threatening to begin executions. Among the captives is an 85-year-old grandmother who was paraded through the streets of Gaza.
I'm sure she's very scared, and I'm sure she feels very alone.
The U.S. State Department now believes Americans may be among the hostages.
Just given the sheer numbers involved, we do expect that there may well be Americans who have been caught up in the hostage taking as well.
In addition to those missing, U.S. officials confirm at least 9 Americans were killed in the attack. President Biden said all countries must stand united against the atrocities. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham says Iran was complicit and that Israel must strike back.
No more proportional response. The goal of the Israeli military should be to destroy Hamas in Gaza.
America's most advanced aircraft carrier is moving towards the region as Israel confronts shock and grief. This man was at a music festival where more than 100 died.
They didn't care if you're a man or a woman, you're young or old man. They're killers, they're murderers. What they did can be forgiven.
Even as the death toll in Gaza rises into the hundreds, Hamas continues firing rockets over the border. And Israel called up hundreds of thousands of reservists, preparing for the next stage of war. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Washington.
Much of the outrage over Hamas's attack centers on that music festival in southern Israel where hundreds of people were killed on Saturday. CBS's Imtiaz Tayab spoke with survivors and reports from Tel Aviv.
Well, Israel is in a state of shock and deeply traumatized following Hamas's shocking, audacious, and frankly unbelievable assault into the south of the country in which so many Israelis have been killed. In fact, we've been speaking to survivors who went to that music festival, people who were dancing with their friends only to find themselves being attacked by Hamas.
We heard the bullets like...
One of the people that we spoke to said that he had been lying for hours in a pool of blood, desperate for help, until rescue workers found him.
I was really sure after the guy that came, the terrorist, they take our phone, that's it. I'm gonna die. And I told my parents, like, all good, I'm okay. But when I told them that, I was with both my legs like popped out.
There are so many stories across Israel right now of survival, of horror, and indeed of tragedy as this country truly tries to come to grips with what happened in the early hours of Saturday, a conflict which is only likely to lead into a major escalation with Hamas inside Gaza. Imtiaz Tayeb, CBS News, Tel Aviv.
3 major airlines have canceled flights to Israel amid attacks by Hamas. American, United, and Delta Airlines canceled flights bound for Tel Aviv today and Sunday. About 15% of flights have been canceled and 21% are delayed. Delta officials said the airline is working to safely transport passengers back to the U.S., and they're working with the repatriation of U.S. citizens who want to return home. After about 7 hours in flight, a United Airlines flight from San Francisco to Tel Aviv was diverted last night over Greenland and told to head back to its original airport. United officials say they're closely monitoring the situation and will adjust flight schedules as needed.
Now, in further response to the attacks, Israel is calling up troops by the thousands, with reservists determined to protect their nation and defeat Hamas. Haley Ott spoke with soldiers as they prepare to join the fight.
because I never thought something like this could happen.
Hila is an Israeli army reservist, now called up for duty. She hopes this is Israel's last war and says Hamas's violent attack is almost too much to understand.
You just shoot everyone because you hate Jews. We feel like it's the Holocaust all over again.
Hila is among around 300,000 reservists called up since Hamas launched its unprecedented surprise attack over the weekend. We are at a military base where some of those people have come to report for duty. We've been asked by the Army not to show that base, but what we can show are cars parked for as far as the eye can see along this highway where people have come, left their vehicles, and come to join the fight.
I come to serve our country because the situation.
This soldier is a 24-year-old law student who condemns Hamas for kidnapping women and children.
Israel wants peace, but the Gaza Strip don't want peace.
One soldier had a final embrace before entering the base. How do you feel about what may come next?
Anxiety from what has been, what will be, what is now. The fact that they took such an crazy and extreme action will make us stop them from doing anything in the future.
Hamas says its attack was necessary to end a 16-year blockade of Gaza and to stop Israel's brutal treatment of Palestinians in the occupied West Bank. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel's retaliation against the militant group has only just begun. Haley Ott, CBS News, Tel Aviv.
Now in Israel, military service is mandatory for both men and women. HNN will have continuing coverage on the unrest in the Middle East on later newscasts this evening, as well as our website and mobile app.
Visitors are returning to West Maui this week, 2 months after the deadly wildfire. Now, it's part of the government's phased reopening, but the community is still divided. Eddie Dowd has more.
It's the green light from Hawaii's governor for visitors to be able to stay in West Maui, home to pristine beaches and well-known resort areas that some believe are bringing more visitors to the Valley Isle. You would say the governor's message made an impact?
It did, absolutely.
We were told this plane coming in from Seattle was a full flight. Southwest staff told us their Los Angeles to Maui flight, although not completely full, had one of the highest passenger counts for that route since the fires. Half of the arriving visitors we talked to told us they were staying in West Maui. Can I just ask you, where are you staying on Maui?
We are staying at Wailea Beach.
Just above Lahaina.
Kihei?
Kanapali.
Wailea? We'll be the Kanapali Shore Resort.
Kihei.
I'd rather not say.
According to airport officials, 30 Trans-Pacific flights arrived to Kahului on October 8th, an increase from a week ago. These informational videos greet visitors at baggage claim, saying Lahaina Town is closed to visitors. It also reminds them to be respectful of the area. The phased reopening starts in Kapalua, meaning some hotels and resorts will remain closed. Some Hawaii residents have mixed feelings about reopening the area 2 months after the Lahaina fires.
I think we should get everything settled first for Maui, and then, travelers can come in.
I think Lahaina needs more time to heal.
They have a right to travel, no hate to them. They can come here, but they don't really have to stay on Lahaina side.
We're just here to support your businesses and your families, and we're only here for, support. We're not here to, take anything away from what happened.
Businesses say the economic boost they're seeing this week is much needed and welcomed. Car rental companies tell us they are starting to put cars that were sitting unused in fields since the fires back into service. And HNN has just learned some furloughed workers are now being brought back as demand increases. And even top state officials like the governor have said they never expected this October 8th date to be like the opening of the floodgates when it came to visitors on Maui. However, they did expect it to start a trickle, an increase in visitors to the area, and hope that would increase as we get into the holiday season. Reporting at Maui's Kahului Airport, Eddie Dowd, Hawaii News Now.
Maui County Mayor Richard Bisson was on Hawaii News Now Sunrise this morning, and he spoke with our Casey Lunn. Here's some of that interview.
I want to, before we address some of the concerns of community members who may feel this is too soon, can you just tell us a little bit about this phase reopening, how it's working, and what's changed since Sunday?
Sure. So we're hoping to get the Maui Hotel Lodging and Hotel Association Hawaii Tourism Authority to give us some of the results of what's happened. They're keeping those statistics for us or for themselves, but we'll get that. I think the only thing that has changed is the community has, again, come together. They understand what's happening. They would like us to, slow it down a little bit so that we can get everybody more ready or in a more ready state to accept visitors.
I know that we've covered this. The county council voted for a resolution to ask to delay that. There's a petition with a lot of signatures. Very vocal people that think that is too soon. Are you hearing from people that are Lahaina residents, may have lost their homes, lost their businesses, that are saying, we need people to come back?
Oh, absolutely. There are people that have spoken on this subject on both sides, Casey. So there are people who are eager to get back to work. A lot of business owners, of course, would like to see visitors come back, whether they're an eatery or provide a service. And of course, there are some individuals who are also eager to work. So I think we have a balance in the community. They're both. But that's the tough thing about trying to find that compromise.
And I think one of the biggest concerns folks have is housing, right? Can you tell us a little bit about the current situation, how many folks we have in hotels, and what we're doing to make sure that, as the governor promised multiple times, that folks aren't going to be without a roof over their head as we continue this really long process?
Yeah, probably the number one question for people is stability in housing. We have under 7,000 people now at about 34 hotels as of Friday, and so we think that number is going to start to come down. We started a program, the Host Families program, that we announced last week, where we're hoping families will take in other family and friends. We'll provide them with some financial assistance to do that. So we hope that program will start to take off. We're talking about existing inventory, and this can happen anywhere in the state. It doesn't have to be here on Maui. You can take in a family from Maui on Kauai or the Big Island, and again, we'll provide the financial assistance. We call that the Host Families program. So we also have the Airbnb program that the state is working on as well. So we have a combination of plans, and we'll be working on more.
And one last question before we go, just because next week is the return of many of the students to those campuses, Lahaina Intermediate, Lahaina Luna High. Do you think they're ready? What are you hearing from those community members and the parents? Some of those folks are concerned, that those campuses overlook a really tragic view every day. Do you think that those folks are ready, and can we support them through that really difficult journey?
I think the DOE has done as best as they can to get those campuses ready. I was on those campuses on Saturday. I got to go and visit them, that area. I think the students are probably more ready to get back than their parents. I think parents are concerned about safety. We put in an alternate access road, the county working with the state, the DOT. I just want to thank Ed Sniffen for being so quick to do that. They have the air monitors there to make sure they can monitor the air quality. So we have the safety of our students top of mind.
Mayor Bisson, I appreciate your time today. And a reminder that we'll be covering those changes as we move back into this phased reopening. Also letting folks know there is some messaging at the airport and along Lahaina Bypass Road, reminding folks not to enter those burn zones in Lahaina. Reporting in Wailuku, I'm Casey Lund. For now, we'll send things back to you.
Starting today, wildfire survivors will be getting phone calls from the state health department. The DOH is conducting a survey to identify healthcare needs, and we're told answers are confidential and will be used to direct state and federal resources where they are needed most. Officials say the survey is voluntary and should take no more than 10 minutes. Calls will be made at random through Wednesday. Meanwhile, Maui police have identified a 25-year-old Kihei man who was killed in a motorcycle crash on Saturday. Investigators say Josue Carrillo died after he hit a curb and was thrown off his bike on Ho'okele Street in Kahului. We're told the man's 18-year-old passenger was taken to the hospital in stable condition.
Also on Maui's North Shore, the Coast Guard has suspended the search for a missing kayaker pending further information. Rescuers were unable to locate 63-year-old Jerry Morgan of Kula. Morgan was reported missing last Wednesday when he never returned home from kayaking earlier in the day. Search teams found his white Toyota Tacoma near Kua'u Bay. His kayak was later found in the ocean, partly submerged off Ho'okipa Beach Park. Anyone with information on his whereabouts should call MPD. Their number, 808-244-6400. On Oahu, a woman was treated for broken bones after being hit by an SUV just before midnight Saturday on Farrington Highway. This was near Trax Beach. Law enforcement sources tell us the 49-year-old driver wasn't sure what she hit, so she returned to the scene. That's when she found the 26-year-old in the road. Police say the victim was not in a marked crosswalk.
Well, President Biden met with his national security team to get the latest on the war in Israel, and he directed them to work with the country to provide whatever support is needed. Now, the White House may need Congress's help in the near future, and that is looking like a hard task. Natalie Brand has more.
The Pentagon has already deployed the USS Gerald Ford to station itself outside of Israel in case it's needed. And the Biden administration says it's prepared to help Israel in any way necessary.
The only things we've said to Israel are that we're here, we've got your back, we want to make sure that you have the support that you need, we want to make sure that you have the assistance that you need.
The U.S. already provides $3 billion in military support each year, but if Israel needs more in time of war, the Biden administration would need approval from Congress.
We should supply and make sure that there's no question and no doubt that Israel will never be overwhelmed when it comes to ammunition.
But the U.S. House can't do anything until Kevin McCarthy is replaced as Speaker. Majority Leader Steve Scalise and Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan are the two leading candidates. The war in Israel is now putting new urgency on the election.
We need to give Israel the time, the space, the resources so that they can win and win decisively.
Neither candidate has enough support to win the speakership, leaving some moderates calling for the House to reinstate McCarthy.
I've said throughout this that I supported Kevin McCarthy. I believe he's the right person to lead.
House Republicans are expected to vote behind closed doors for the new speaker Wednesday morning.
Nay.
Before bringing the vote to the House floor. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
We want to take you live now to Kilauea, where we have an update for you. Kilauea showing signs of unrest. So here's a live look at Halemaumau crater. Increased seismic activity has been noticed for the better part of a week now, with hundreds of tremors in an ongoing swarm. USGS observers say inflation at the summit has now nearly returned to the same level it was before last month's eruption. Now we're going to have an update on your forecast after a quick break.
We're still suffering from drought across the state. Couple areas worse than others. South Point suffering from extreme drought. And if anything, this will likely get worse before it gets better, right? West Maui, South Maui suffering from extreme drought as well. But a severe drought, that's no picnic either. And that's what we have here on our leeward side as well as over on Kauai's leeward side. And there's no significant drought relief coming anytime soon. However, windward sides will pick up a few showers today and tomorrow, mainly tonight and tomorrow morning. Rainfall totals, however, will be light because we'll have those breezy winds bringing in the showers and pushing them out quite quickly. So rainfall totals will be limited. And then tomorrow, Wednesday, the winds back down. We'll have lighter winds from Wednesday into next week, and that means slightly higher humidity levels. And as far as rain, if we're lucky from Wednesday into the weekend, we'll have a few spotty afternoon showers.
It's a tough time for potential home buyers. Right now, the average U.S. mortgage rate is nearly 7.5%. That's the highest level in 23 years. Mike Valerio has more.
Well, right now, it is a pretty difficult environment if you do need to buy a home, but there are some things you can do to make the process potentially less painful. Americans are feeling the impact of inflation in most areas of their lives, but getting a high mortgage rate now can make a big dent on your bank account for decades. The average U.S. mortgage rate is 7.49%, the highest level in 23 years.
You're not going to get 4%, but you can make sure that you're getting the best rate that's out there.
Greg McBride with Bankrate.com says there are a few things you can do to show lenders you're a low risk.
Make sure your credit report is accurate and do everything you can to increase your credit score there. That means pulling copies of your credit reports and getting incorrect information removed from that report.
He says it's good to shop around.
Ideally, you want to compare quotes and you want to put in an application with as many as 3 different lenders and do so as close to the same period of time as possible. You want to do all those on the same day. That way you get a real apples to apples comparison, not just on the rate that's available, but also the fees that the lender is charging.
After doing your research, if the numbers still don't work for you, you may want to hit the pause button on purchasing a new home.
Another couple of years of paying down debt, boosting savings, maybe another promotion at work that boosts your income could put you in a position where home ownership is much more tenable a year or two from now than it is today.
And all importantly, in terms of perspective, analysts who we spoke to all day said that rates are not expected to reach the sky-high levels that we saw in the 80s when they approached 19%. That's the latest here in Los Angeles. I'm Mike Valerio. Back to you.
Drones will take to the skies over Kauai today, looking to stop the spread of the invasive coconut rhinoceros beetle. They will be over the Wailua golf course today through Wednesday to find the pest and to spray pesticide on infested trees. So far, 31 adult beetles have been found in traps at the golf course. Parts of the course will be closed during the treatment. We have the schedule posted up at hawaiinewsnow.com. Time to check out some good news now. The skies over Albuquerque, New Mexico are a little bit more crowded as the first weekend of the balloon Fiesta is now in the books. Stephanie Muniz of KOAT takes us there.
Bright headlights and red taillights lit the path into Balloon Fiesta Park. The first event of the day, a drone show with 500 drones, shaping an inflating hot air balloon, even showing the burner. And of course, what New Mexico is known for, Route 66. Before the sun rises, Dawn Patrol fires up the burners, and the first hot air balloon is off. It's the cherry on top balloon from UNM. The turquoise, cherry, and silver balloon, flying the American flag over the Mexico sky. Then the moment everyone waited for, mass ascension, hundreds of balloons painting the sky full of color. And the special shapes getting everyone's attention. Fan favorite Arabelle, the Creamland cow, slowly filled up. Sleepy Arabelle finally waking up and gliding through the sky. Flying conditions have to be nearly perfect to safely fly the 10-story high balloon. And the slow breeze making a perfect chance to splash and dash. Clusters of balloons fighting for a piece of the Rio Grande. Eventually, everyone taking a landing spot in the North Valley, wrapping up the first weekend of Balloon Fiesta.
Isn't that cool? A beautiful sight to see there. it's just the creations that they come up with now. They're like practically Macy's Thanksgiving Day balloons, but hot air balloons.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
and to have that many balloons in the same airspace takes a lot of talent.
I can't imagine.
Yeah. Well, we have a last story for you guys. So Wisconsin residents had some activity in their neighborhood. A herd of cows were spotted on the loose. The cows took over a cul-de-sac of a neighborhood in Port Washington last week. Apparently, they escaped from a local farm and left their mark in the yards of stunned residents. Now, after spending some time roaming freely, apparently the local news says that the cows did eventually make it back home.
Gotta move out of their way. I read another online story there that the cows left 4-inch deep prints into people's yards and grasses. So the homeowners.
Say something else.
They also left something else there too. But they left 4-inch foot deep marks in their lawn. So of course their grass and their flowers all got torn up.
Right.
So they're gonna have to repair that there. Thanks for watching.